Games are hard. They're hard for games. Games are hard. They're hard for games. Yes, they're so hard. They're hard for games. Well, they hit 100,000 subscribers recently. That was pretty hype.
Shout out Hard for Games. Congrats
Dude,
on 100K.
shout out Hard for Games. I fucking love Hard for Games. They're so cool.
You've
how
watched
did
their
you
channel longer than I have.
I've watched their channel like literally since the beginning.
Yeah.
How did you find them? You start first.
Sure. All right. Yeah, my story's less interesting, so let's get that out of the way. I remember I was looking up hidden gems on the N64. I want to say back in like 2016.
Very nice.
Okay. So, and on one website, I found out about this game called Doshin the Giant. You may recognize him. He's the profile picture of this channel.
I know. Influential on this channel.
And it's funny because I read the description. They had no images of the game. You play as a giant yellow god. That's like, I'm like, what in the fuck is this? Like, what is this talking about? This Doshin the Giant game. And I looked it up. And then when I saw him, I was like, I think I've seen this guy before, and I had seen him in Smash. He was a trophy as like the love giant in Smash Brothers Melee. Anyway, I think when I looked it up, there was like literally like one video on YouTube that showcased the N64 version of this game, and it was Hard for Games. And they had actual Nintendo 64 disc drive. I still remember the way they introduced it. They were like, here's the disc drive. And they're like, a thing of beauty, a thing of majesty. It was just like, I immediately hit the sub button because it was just like, I love channels where it's just dudes hanging out, playing games, talking about it, enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've undergone some transformations over time. Nowadays, it's more like, here's a beta thing. Here's like a prototype. Yeah. Look at that.
Well,
that's what they're most famous for.
Yeah.
Like that's what got them to 100,000 subscribers. But the channel I knew and loved, still know and love, because they do the videos like this sometimes. They just put one out on N64, like a game dev jam. It was like the good old days. Mm-hmm. It was exactly that. It was just a bunch of dudes hanging out, like quote unquote reviewing a game or product. And it was interesting because they always had weird stuff.
Yeah.
They weren't doing the same shit as everyone else. They were 100%. Doing things that like nobody would talk about. Well, and the way I found them was
just
way back in the day. Yeah, so ScrewAttack.com had a community like feature, and they would alternate like the video that's featured.
What year are we talking?
Oh shit, this was probably 2008 or 9. It was a long time
way
ago.
Back.
So yeah, like early days of retro game YouTube. And their second ever like real video, if you count the Jamology, like the 3 parts as one video, their second thing that they like made was Nintendo's biggest cock tease, as they called it. And that was the first one I saw. Like, I saw that when it was new.
Guaranteed to do games big numbers on YouTube.
Yeah, this isn't, I don't think it did. I think it only has, like, even to this day, I think the video only has, like, 10,000 views or something.
Yeah, I was just kidding. It's because those kind of titles never do well on YouTube.
Oh,
yeah.
Exactly. Well,
but they didn't care.
Yeah. I mean, they kept on trucking. But here's the thing about Hard for Games is they weren't just a YouTuber I watched, because I watched a lot of YouTubers. They were like one of my favorites. Like, I would rewatch episodes. In my mind, like, these guys were as big as like any of the people that were actually famous, but they never really got famous until he started doing like the beta stuff over the years. I watched that transform because that was their first like big hit, was when they did something called beta questing, and it was to find Ura Zelda elements, like things in the Ura Zelda trailer. They went into like a Game Shark with Ocarina of Time and like looked at all these areas that weren't present in the final game, and that was like their first big hit, and that ended up being the rabbit that they chased. But I really think they got something with that Hard for Games, because he made the channel like a social aspect. It was like him and his friends were just hanging out anyway, and he's like, let's make a review show out of this.
Yeah,
and then they did it, and it was cool.
It made you feel like you were part of the gang.
Yeah, dude, it was.
I like that they drink
cool
too
stuff.
During a lot of them. It's just like they're literally just hanging out as they normally would. It's just like, fuck it, let's film this. Let's make this a video.
I love it. It's like, it's very well produced for the time too, because in 2009, and it had a lot of different elements. Because in 2009, people didn't have like reliable game capture. That was something that was not something to be taken for granted. I think they recorded with like DVDs. I think
Part of
that's
why,
they
you
did
know,
it.
Classic Game Room rose to the top right at the beginning.
Exactly.
topic for
because
another
he
day.
he had, you know, he had the equipment. But like there was a lot of moving elements to this show. Like you had the camera, you had like the audio of them, and you had the gameplay that all had to like be in harmony, which is
It's
easier,
true.
you know, said than done, especially in 2009 with like that equipment.
And they had such like they had rare stuff. You know, it's not every day you
Yeah.
come by a disc drive.
No. I remember he made like a trailer when he got the disc drive where it was like him and his wife in bed.
Yeah.
And he's like ignoring his wife to like to like fondle the disc drive. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you know, they're going to have, I know for a fact actually, that they're going to have a 100K subscriber special eventually. I know that it's kind of taking a while.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
What
he
are
has to
your
get all
hopes?
those people together. I imagine he wants to get as much of the gang together as possible for that.
I think that's the idea, and I'm really excited for it.
Yeah. It's going to be epic.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like as you grow older, it's like harder to keep that core friend group together. So it's like
Yeah.
these days it's mostly just Tony, but like
Yeah.
sometimes John will pop in, like he's a secondary character, like he's on quite a bit, but then like anyone else, it's like you rarely see him, but it's always a joy when they show up.
Yeah, it is. It's unexpected. It's like, oh, yeah, the gang's getting back together.
Like when they brought TJ back for like
Yes.
2 videos a year or 2 ago, that was the hypest thing ever.
Yeah. Hair's still the
Anyway, I
same.
love you hard for games. Like I don't even know what
Yeah.
why. Why
Shout
we're
out
doing
Harper
this.
Games. If you guys are watching, we love you. And congrats
Yeah.
once again on 100K.
Hell yeah.